themes, you have to boil it down to nuts and bolts, and you have to be pithy. What do I mean by pithy? How about this? Republicans want to kill your kids. It's actually true. If you're going to oppose vaccinations, if you're going to stop breakthrough medical research, if you're going to allow minors and all sorts of people to get semi-automatic weapons, which they use to shoot up schools, well, then you are responsible for kids' health and death, unfortunately. It has to be that simple and that direct, and it has to be over and over and over again.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all having a great and wonderful day. And it seems that we have another piece of trash has been taken out and really being removed from cancer. Now, it is great because Jennifer Rubin, the person that quit the Washington Post, is now leaving it. And it is hilarious to see. And she has also did an Unhinged rant about, saying how Republicans want to off your kids because she's a psychopath and needs help, like almost every other leftist. And we have this here from Fox News pretty much saying, which I don't like reporting too much on this media, but anti-Trump communist Jennifer Rubin quits Washington Post, blasts owner Jeff Bezos. Let's see what she's got to say for it. Longtime Washington Post columnist Jennifer Rubin has resigned from the embattled paper, Fox News Digital has confirmed. Rubin, an outspoken critic of President-elect Donald Trump, had recently publicly attacked the Washington Post, particularly its owner Jeff Bezos, for trying to become more politically neutral. I fear that things are going to be going from bad to worse at the Post in an interview about her exit. I think politically neutral for being any type of newspaper is probably a good thing. Unlike some of the things that I'm doing that I'm more of a political commentator, that type of stuff. That I still give you guys news, but I give my commentary on what I think is happening in the political world. So perhaps I'm going to lean a certain way, which is quite obvious, but maybe being a bit neutral for a journalist or a newspaper is probably the best thing instead of being hard leaning to the right or the left. That's probably a good thing, but what do I know? It says, Rubin added that the Post has failed prospectively at the moment that we most need a robust, aggressive free press. Rubin joined several high-profile staffers who have announced departures for other outlets, including reporters Josh Dalsey, Ashley Parker, Michael Scheer, Tyler Page, and Leanne Caldwell, columnist Chara Rose Lang, health and science editor Stephen Smith, and a veteran editor Matea Gold. So yeah, all these people are leaving the Post, but there's kind of more reasons why they're leaving the Post. But here, as you can see from the video from the beginning, here's the actual post that she has done. Let me TikTok, I say, Republicans want to off your kids. This deranged psycho just left the Washington Post because she claimed Jeff Bezos enabled Donald Trump, who's the biggest threat to our democracy.
Boil it down to nuts and bolts, and you have to be pithy. What do I mean by pithy? How about this? Republicans want to kill your kids. It's actually true. If you're going to oppose vaccinations, if you're going to stop breakthrough medical research, if you're going to allow minors and all sorts of people to get semi-automatic weapons, which they use to shoot up schools, well, then you are responsible for kids' health and death, unfortunately. It has to be that simple and that direct, and it has to be over and over and over again. Talk broad themes.
Okay, so obviously this woman's a bloody psychopath, right? We're going to go over a few things here, and then we'll get into a little bit of the story, then we'll call it good because it's not too crazy, but I figured I should do a little more of a lighthearted one. So let's go with this here.
You have to boil it down to nuts and bolts, and you have to be pithy. What do I mean by pithy? How about this? Republicans want to kill your kids.
So when she says this, which she's bloody insane, we could also say that the Democrats want to off your kids as well. Because a lot of people in general, when I go on to abortion type of things, which is what I'm talking about, the abortion thing is kind of like where you do kind of off your kids. Because let's put it this way. You get pregnant, right? And then you, remove it from society or whatever. Like, it doesn't become a full anything. That's kind of like preventing something from being born or being alive. So the only other way you can actually put it is that, you kill it. So Democrats obviously talk and spout about killing kids. So let's go with that. So we would do that. So what other type of insanity did this woman say again?
It's actually true. If you're going to oppose vaccinations, if you're going to stop breakthrough medical research,
Now, I don't know what this woman is talking about with breakthrough medical research and how we want to stop. I think the vaccines is probably a good thing to criticize. I mean, whenever there were talks about the vaccine, there was nothing to say that, like, you can't talk about it, you can't talk against it, you can't bring up like random things to maybe it's not maybe the safest thing on the planet. So yeah, I think this is valid. Also, who is trying to stop breakthrough medical research? That is insanity here. If anything, people across the country is trying to find a way to cure the cancer. And honestly, a lot of people are saying it's actual pharma that's preventing the cure for cancer because they get too much money for trying to keep cancer alive. So through chemo and all this other stuff. So I think I think it's probably for the pharmaceuticals and Democrats trying to do that. But what do I know, right?
If you're going to allow minors and all sorts of people to get semi-automatic weapons, which they use to shoot up schools,
Well, let's put it this way, right? It's not necessarily guns, because again, what is going on with the mental health crisis in this country that we haven't been talking about was causing these kids to do this? What about the political propaganda, which so far happens to be a lot of the far left doing this type of stuff? Let's be honest, it's been a lot of the trans people as well. So we could talk about that. How about if you wouldn't even put this in perspective, right? There are knives, right? Knives are not illegal to have a certain type of knives in certain states, but this is not preventing stabbings. This is not preventing anything. In fact, a majority of people have knives and they don't go out and stab people to death. This is not a common occurrence that people do in society. And most people, when they own weapons, that purchase weapons or whatever, are not going out and shooting others. When you see mass shootings, it's big and a global thing because everybody talks about it. But on a grand scale of things, it's a very small minority of people that are even doing this. It's so small that it's insignificant. Most of the time, your kids are not going to be affected by a mass shooting. So we're trying to want to ban guns for a very, very small minority of things. And then we want to talk about kids. You're also doing the whole trans thing. Yeah, how about the trans thing with the kids where you pretty much ruining their lives forever? So I don't know where she's going on with this because the insanity is just everywhere with this woman.
well, then you are responsible for kids' health and death, unfortunately. It has to be that simple and that direct, and it has to be over and over and over again.
Well, again, the Democrats would be held responsible for the death and the maiming of children when you go down to this is trans stuff and trying to push that ideology down the kids' throats. That's just the reality, and that's just kind of what it is, right? And then, of course, we have this here from the meme Therefore I Am says Washington Post Jennifer Rubin, who recently got slammed for her deranged rant claiming Trump cabinet picks want to off your kids, and wrote a book, Resistance How Women Saved Democracy from Donald Trump, leaves a newspaper. Rubin is partnering with former White House ethics czar Norm Eisen and launching a publication called The Contrarian to combat the authoritarian threat that we face. So that's what we said here. Of course, this woman has gone out and says the MAGA squirrel deserved to die, and she got completely obliterated on this. She's a psychopath. This woman is a bloody psychopath. And of course, we have this here. Watching Norm Eisen and Jennifer Rubin painfully describe their new cringeworthy media venture to oppose President Trump. We do politics, we're going to do law, etc., etc. But we know that any successful pro-democracy movement has also to be very vocal about culture. We'll be having a humor column, and we'll even have a cooking column, but we're going to be sprinkling a little bit of pro-democracy flavor. So let's nothing for ado. Let's listen to their insane spiel.
Do politics, we're going to do law, but we know that any successful pro-democracy movement also has to be very vocal about culture. We'll have a humor column. We'll even have a cooking column, but we're going to sprinkle in a little bit of pro-democracy flavor. Do politics.
Ugh. God, they're just insane, right? They're insane. This is what's going to be going on here. Says it's thin. Of course, breaking. Washington Post has lost nearly 90% of its audience since 2011. Goes on to say here, the Washington Post subscriber and readership base has reportedly tanked over the last 4 years. The relevance came as Jeff Bezos is seeking to bring the left-leaning publication matter to the center. Data on web traffic over the last few years share the semaphore shows that the 2024 daily numbers shrank substantially from the January 2021 high. At the beginning of Biden's term in the White House, the site saw 22.5 million daily users. However, in 2024, the average was around 2.5 to 3 million users a day, a drop of 20 million. So, yeah, last year, WAPO, or Washington Post, stopped disclosing its traffic on press releases after a steep decline by 60%. During the same time, the outlet's revenue fell from 190 million to 174 million. The decline of the Washington Post comes amid a greater decline in readership and viewership of legacy media outlets. Yeah, so the Washington Post is collapsing here, right? It is collapsing, and all for it here. And let that be known, it's the happiest time of our lives. But here's the thing. These people are psychos, and that's kind of what everybody needs to know, right? These people are insane. They're lunatics. They need help, and all that great stuff. So I don't know what else to tell people. You kind of just go roll the truth here. But again, they have to contradict themselves every single way that they have, because that's the only way they can do it. And good riddance to the Washington Post. Nothing will be missed. These people won't be missed. That show will most likely fail, because obviously nobody's going to watch it either, because somebody's going to listen to the sing rants of a crazy woman. So, yeah. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Let's guys share. As always, take care, my friends.
I'm disgusted by what I see in public. Even people closest to us can't be trusted. This is algorithmic disease, the social media.